SpongeBob Squarepants has had a roller coaster of a ride within the video game world. And on January 5th, 2019, THQ Nordic has announced that they are remaking one of those SpongeBob games, that being Battle for Bikini Bottom, and the title of it is SpongeBob Squarepants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. But that begs the question, does this game deserve a remake, or should it just stay in the past? Well, let's look at the original game and find out that answer. We begin with Plankton hatching out yet another ingenious plan to finally steal the Krabby Patty formula. Plankton builds the Duplicatotron 3000 to make an army of robots to obey his every command. But he forgot to set the switch to obey, and the robots start to go haywire all in Bikini Bottom. Meanwhile, SpongeBob and Patrick were playing robots and racehorses, and SpongeBob wished that him and Patrick could have real robots to play with. Then Patrick puts the toy robot in his magic wishing shell, then he shakes the magic wishing shell. The next morning, SpongeBob wakes up to see a mess in his living room. You start off by exploring the rest of SpongeBob's house to figure out what you're going to be doing throughout the game and how the game's currency works. After you collect your first spatula and leave SpongeBob's house, you then have to travel throughout the entirety of Bikini Bottom to collect many golden spatulas by completing different objectives. The areas you explore within Bikini Bottom are Jellyfish Fields, Downtown Bikini Bottom, Goo Lagoon, the Poseidon for one of the boss fights, Sandy's Tree Dome, the Murmur Lair, Rock Bottom, Sand Mountain, Industrial Park, again for one of the boss fights, the Krusty Krab, Kelp Forest, the Flying Dutchman's Graveyard, the Chum Bucket, and SpongeBob's Dream. Most of these levels have a character to greet you to tell you the main objective, along with a bunch of other objectives to go with it. There are 100 golden spatulas to collect, but you only need to collect 75 to get to the final boss. Once you get 75 or more, you go inside the Chum Bucket and defeat SpongeBob Steel Pants. The game's story is original and creative, and I like that. The graphics in this game look amazing for a PS2, Xbox, and GameCube game. The attention to detail is very nice, like how bubbles appear when SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy perform actions, because that's what would happen when you do stuff like that underwater. However, while each version of the game does have the same looking graphics, there are some things to point out. Easily the greatest looking version of the game as of June 2019 is the Xbox version. With the Xbox being capable of running games at 1080i, it just makes all the colors and shadows pop out, and I love it. The PS2 version is definitely in second and still looks pretty nice and colorful. The GameCube version, on the other hand, has the least colorful looking graphics. Like, you could definitely get by with it, but I'm just saying, this and this look way more compelling and interesting than this. Now it makes sense why it's like this. The GameCube disc is half the size of a regular disc, so I can understand why they have to make this sacrifice. And I'm certainly not saying that the GameCube version looks so bad to the point where it's disgusting. It's a great looking game in its own right, but I do have to admit, the other console versions look way more colorful and just have better shadows. The music you hear in this game is absolutely phenomenal. Every track you hear is 100% original and none of it comes from the TV show. Some of the music is more laid back, while other pieces of music are more upbeat. You got some awesome tracks like the Bikini Bottom music, the battle music / SpongeBob's Dream, the Murmur Lair, the slide music, the Flying Dutchman's Graveyard, and so much more. If you want to hear the music of the game, I'll leave a link to the soundtrack on Fred5107's channel in the description. I would show you guys some pieces of the music in this video, but I wouldn't want it to drag, and I want you guys to listen to it for yourselves. If you've played the game before like I have, you'd know that the level design was clearly made by people who watched the show. This is actually what SpongeBob would look like if it were a three-dimensional show like Jimmy Neutron is. Every level you see in the game is a perfect replica of how it looked in the show. Except this gloomy place. It really bugs me to see that Kelp Forest is all gloomy and dark when in the show it was all bright and nice. Even the beta versions of the game had the correct version of Kelp Forest, so the fact that they made this decision when they didn't have to, or better yet when they shouldn't have, is quite a head scratcher. And on top of that, Kelp Forest is so dark that you may have to turn up the brightness on your TV quite a bit. Like, come on, I'm playing Battle for Bikini Bottom on an HD TV, not Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness on an HD TV. And now for the cream of the crop, the gameplay, the biggest highlight of this game. This game is an open world 3D platformer with a ton of amazing levels for you to collect golden spatulas. And if you don't like a particular level, you can always collect a certain amount of shiny objects and trade them in to Mr. Krabs for a golden spatula, or get 10 of Patrick's socks back to him and trade those in for a golden spatula to him. You need a certain amount of golden spatulas to get the most levels. This truly feels like Mario 64 SpongeBob Edition. However, each section of the game has a level where you don't need a required amount of spatulas. I love this decision. It was made because if you have just enough spatulas to progress to the next area and you decide to progress to the next area, you can just start playing a level to collect more spatulas and enter levels that require more spatulas. Now for the characters. You get to play as SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy in this game. SpongeBob, despite being somewhat of a weakling in the show, is debatably the most useful out of all three characters. With SpongeBob, you start with 3 abilities: a Bubble Wand Spin, Bubble Bounce, and Bubble Bash. However, after you complete the Robot Sandy boss, you get the Bubble Bowl, and after you beat the Robot Patrick boss, you get the Cruise Bubble. This would definitely be SpongeBob's moveset for Smash Brothers. The other 2 playable characters, however, Patrick and Sandy, don't unlock any new abilities, but that's fine, they both play great. Patrick is a little bit stronger. He's able to pick up heavy items such as tikis, robots, and watermelons and throw them to either defeat robots or activate buttons. He can also use his belly to attack enemies. Sandy is a bit more mobile. She can use her lasso to glide pretty far distances, grapple onto floating Texas icons and swing on them, or to grab certain robots and defeat them, and her up-close attacks are karate moves. All 3 of these characters control absolutely amazing, and they all have strengths compared to each other. SpongeBob has the most robust moveset with his bubble-based attacks, Patrick is the strongest that can pick up throwable items, and Sandy is the most versatile and mobile thanks to her lasso. However, in my opinion, I like playing as SpongeBob and Sandy the most. I'm not saying I don't like playing as Patrick, it's just his only great attribute is that he can throw things. They definitely made Patrick fun, I just think that playing as SpongeBob and Sandy is just more fun. I love this game to death. It's on my top 5 list of favorite video games of all time. It's easily the best SpongeBob game ever made. However, this game isn't perfect, but it is so close to being perfect. There are a couple of small flaws with one very noticeable flaw. Easily the biggest flaw is the gloominess in Kelp Forest. I'm sorry, there's just no reason to make this level so damn dark. This is the only level in the game that I don't enjoy playing in. But I do have to say, the music is pretty catchy. The only other flaws I have to mention about this game is that there are a couple of voice actors that weren't there to play the proprietary role, those being Clancy Brown as Mr. Krabs and Ernest Borgnine as Mermaid Man. Instead, these 2 characters were played by Joe White. Joe White definitely does the job, but I really wish that the original voice actors were there to voice these characters in the game. Some of you may be wondering why Clancy Brown didn't show up to voice Mr. Krabs in the game. Well, let's just say this. Clancy Brown voices Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs is greedy. And so is Clancy Brown. That's a bit harsh. I'm sure he's not greedy. It's just Clancy Brown wanted more money than the rest of the voice actors, and knowing that the games have a lower budget than the TV show, he did not attend the role of Mr. Krabs in this game. As for Ernest Borgnine, I currently don't know why he didn't attend the role. However, Ernest Borgnine did pass away on July 8th, 2012. Rest in peace, Mr. Borgnine. You too, Mr. Cowdy. You both will be missed, and I hope that the team finds solid replacements for both Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. Overall, SpongeBob Squarepants Battle for Bikini Bottom is an absolutely amazing game, especially since it's a licensed game. THQ and Heavy Iron Studios were die-hard fans of the show, and they made a game to show it. I'm so glad that Nordic Games purchased THQ's IPs and became THQ Nordic, and I'm even more glad that a remake of this game is being made. While it is kind of sad to see that Heavy Iron have nothing to do with this remake, I have no doubt in my mind that Purple Lamp Studios will do an amazing job with this remake of the game. With that being said, this game definitely deserves a remake, and I am so happy that it's happening. I give this game a stellar 9.5 out of 10. Hopefully with this remake they can fix the very small amount of flaws the original game had and potentially make it perfect, like making Kelp Forest not need night vision goggles for you to see, and perhaps have Clancy Brown actually voice Mr. Krabs. However, we can't really do anything about Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. I really hope that the to-be-determined voice actors for these characters will be a solid replacement. With that being said, guys, thank you all so much for watching this review and for showing so much support on my Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated videos. When this game comes out, I will definitely live stream it for you guys. I want us all to experience this remake together. Also, if you guys want me to do more reviews like this, then be sure to belly flop that like button and tell me what other games you would like me to review. With that being said, guys, once again, thank you all so much for watching, and the YouTuber out, y'all. Peace!